Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I have Dewey with me. What do you go by Dewey still? Or
You get a pass because you were with me in high school and all
okay,
that. But
you
yeah,
get the high
it's
school
Andrew now.
pass.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Dewey or Andrew to those who met him after high school.
yeah.
Um, and we have not seen each other for a while, but I am very
Outside the
happy.
academic building, junior or was it senior year? Was it fifth?
Probably junior or senior year.
Did you graduate actually in 21? Did you graduate
21.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been senior year then. I graduated. I took another year after
Oh,
that.
okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, and otherwise, thank you to my friend Nathan for sponsoring this gear, and then we'll just get right into it. So,
All right.
yeah, so we haven't seen each other since college. We both went to A&M,
Mm-hmm.
and you studied engineering.
No, so my path through college is very long, and I'll just get into that now.
Mhm.
So I started off engineering freshman year, only stayed in it for a semester, and by the second semester, I was already done with it. I was also in the Corps of Cadets. I was only in that for like a month and a half. It just wasn't for me. I thought that the Corps was why my grades are bad. Turns out just not studying is why my grades are bad, And so I hadn't been ready for engineering. Hit me kind of hard. Got out of the Corps after, it was fun. I did enjoy it. It just wasn't for me at the time. Just wasn't ready for it. Wasn't there. So after my first year, I actually took a semester off. Went to TCC for a semester. Got my bearings. Decided that I've started going to finish at this point. So I went back to study economics with a minor and minor in geographic information science. Before I officially declared, I found out you can major in GIS, and so I majored in that, and I took cybersecurity as a minor. So I did a lot of business classes and mazed through that. I'm actually a GIS guy, and that's why I'm now a land surveyor. Go out pretty much just do topographic data collection. If you need a house sold, I go find your property corners, get a title survey put together. My company doesn't do much of that. We like to work more with the engineers, construction side. We do a lot of big projects. I can show you some photos later of tunnel surveys we've done in Houston and San Antonio. It's a fun. I enjoy it a lot. I wish there weren't chiggers, and I wish there weren't I wish sun wasn't a thing. And in the winter, I wish it didn't get down to negative 10 degrees some days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, December I should be in the office. That's the trajectory for me. I'm working my way up from the bottom. I'm already a crew chief, so and it's been nice. Moved out recently, but yeah, last time we saw each other I was an engineer at that point, but we didn't really talk too much because were you on with your class? Because I was doing a project for, I think, at the time with some like a lab or something. What were you doing?
Yeah, I think I remember it vividly because I was with one of my friends. We were just coming from one of our English creative writing classes. And I remember, like, I ran into my ex-girlfriend at A&M twice. I ran into her friend. I ran into, it's such a small world.
Yeah, but somehow 60,000 students is small.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remember running into you, and you were so nice because you were like, hey, anytime if you want to hang out, if you want to catch up, I'm available. I did not reach out to you, but
that's how it usually works, man. It does not bother me at all.
But I from that I was like, okay, Dewey's in a good place. He's a good person.
Appreciate that.
So, but you gave me a ton of stuff to work with. So you are doing, what was it? Topographic land.
So it's just land surveying is the general. It's the broad term. So, the basics of land surveying is, you have meets and bounds to divide your land. So like if you go outside right now, your dad has a piece of paper that says he owns this piece of land. It's a deed for a plat, which is like the land it's on. And to identify that land, there's technically, in most places, there's some places it's not because construction has kind of gone in there and pulled up these monuments. But in most property corners, if you dig about 2 or 3 inches under the dirt, find a metal detector or get a metal detector, find it. There's a piece of like 1/2, 3/8, or 5/8 inch rebar sitting there at each property corner of your property. And so you go and find all those to make sure it fits essentially what the paper says. And so that's what we do. We go out there and just check it. It's pretty much a go between the banks and the homeowner to make sure that when they're selling the house, it is what the homeowner is saying it is. So the bank's not just giving a loan to the buyer with it being something that's actually not. So that's the basics of like just a title survey. Land surveyors also, we go and set stakes for construction. So if you're putting a sewer line through the middle of your road right here, excavator's going to need to know exactly how far down to dig, especially for sewer. It's pretty important. Water line not so much because it's pressurized, So again, it can kind of flow up if it needs to, because compact is being pushed through a tube. Sewer's all downhill, so you're talking like an inch drop every like 50 feet or something like that. It's just very gradual, so you have to make sure that is very detailed. And so you come through the excavator and you're scraping off like hundredths of an inch, thousands of an inch worth of dirt, trying to make sure that it's level like that going through.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing in Houston, actually. Though they have major projects down there that's actually tunnel surveys. So we're like 50, 60 feet under the ground doing that type of surveying in a tunnel. And so they're pumping, it's like a 7-foot tall pipe. So like we're able to walk through it without hitting our heads on the ceiling and stuff like that. And they're pumping water from one of the reservoirs to another. Because in Houston, if water goes over the edge of a lake, it's in the ocean, not usable, not potable, drinkable water. So what we do is essentially we're making sure these tunnels are proper and level pretty much, so that they can pump water from one of these full reservoirs to an empty one on the other side of the city, so they can hold their water as best as possible, so they can supply it to as many people as possible, because droughts come through and you don't want to waste that water in a place like Houston. So that's what we're doing down there. We're starting one in north of McKinney soon. It's a major pipeline. We're doing clearing easements for it. That one's going to take probably 6 months. We're doing stuff at the airport too, both airports actually. We're doing the taxiways for Love Field and the taxiway on the southwest side for DFW Airport. So it's a lot of staking and as-built checks. It's very complicated work. Complicated to kind of explain, but it's not that complicated when you're actually on the ground. It's more complicated for the guys in the office. I'm not there yet, so I'll get there eventually though. So.
Why is it more complicated for them? Are they the ones planning out?
Yeah. So the guys in the field. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So the guys in the field, they are, they get the instructions from the guys in the office, and it's fairly straightforward. The equipment nowadays is pretty much all GPS run. You need to run a toll station, which is what you see, like the rope, that's like cameras that spin on top of those tripods.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining you doing.
Yeah. So that stuff we use to make sure the taxiways are level, because airports are very strict on
right, because it has to go.
Yeah, you have to have the water flow coming off the taxiway properly, because you want to make sure drainage is good, because you don't want a plane full of 100 people skidding off runway or a taxiway. So that we use toll station for. It's much more accurate. It's down to the thousandths of a foot, which, to give you an example, so 1 or 2 hundredths of a foot is a quarter of an inch. So we're talking like down to within right around a 50th of an inch is the accuracy of this machine. And it's pretty insane what the technology is. So that's why our job's easier, because everything's on these machines that do it for us. The guys in the office, and this is more so for doing replats and for property stuff, they have to go back and research property boundaries that it could be over 100 from the 1800s essentially. So that those deeds that were drawn up over 150 years ago, they're saying stuff like walk 400 paces at a bearing of 300 degree. Like it's really ridiculous. Exactly. Like they're saying, go in this degree angle, go north 400 feet, and at this there will be an elm tree. That is the property corner. Well, people go through. There's a fire that goes through. The elm tree's no longer there. The elm tree's been knocked down. Or they'll say there's a rock. Well, the rock could be buried by sediment. Like, you're not going to find these things. So that's why they struggle a little bit sometimes, because you kind of have to. It's a puzzle. It really is, and it's kind of fun. I've done a couple. I've only done 1 or 2. I'm just kind of looking around. But they have. I mean, they also are working more closely with engineers and construction companies. They usually demand things like by the minute. So if you're not, they're just, they want their jobs done. They get paid based on how fast they get things done. So they don't tell you when they need you until it's day of. So then the office guys kind of have to try to cater to them as much as possible. And so their job's a little harder based on that. We just kind of get told what to do, and it's fine. I enjoy it. Ready to be in their shoes though, ready to be in the air conditioning. Yes. So
do you feel like there's a lot more responsibility for the people in the office?
Yeah, they're writing up contracts and working with people. It's a lot. It's different type of responsibility. If we mess something up in the field, the office people still have to correct it, and they wind up taking the the not the punishment, but they wind up getting hit harder no matter what. So if the guys in the field don't do their jobs properly, forget a property corner. We've had that issue come up a couple times. We had a couple.
Forget a corner.
Well, yeah. What happened was, so they'll send us points based on the office guys will send us points based on what they think or where they think a corner will be based on what they're reading from the deed. And some of the surveyors will go out there and try to find what they said is, and if it's not there, we'll kind of like look around about 10-foot diameter, try to find it. If it's not there, we move on. Well, we've had a couple times where the guys just don't look very hard at all. And in some cases, you can get away with that. If you're trying to find like a neighbor's property corner, and it's just to help lock things in a little tighter, you can kind of look a little lighter, and it's not a big deal. But if you're looking for your own, like the property that you're concerned with, property corner, you don't look very hard, and then they say, okay, couldn't find the corner, let's go set one there because there should be one there. The next guy goes out and finds it, and it's 2 foot off. Now you have 2 corners that aren't, like 2 feet's not that big. Like you don't think it's that big, but you're talking 2 feet off to the left, and then you go down 10 acres worth of land. Well, now you just added almost you added several hundred square feet of property to this guy's land and took it away from the neighbors. So that's going to be a legal issue at that point. So there are issues that field guys can cause for sure. And it's a responsibility you have to take on to make sure you're not, because it is a lot of red tape and legal. We do a lot with the city of Dallas and the city of Fort Worth and, government. It's fun stuff, and it's just, government workers, they don't work very hard. They make you, they run you through the whole gambit of tricks and everything to slow you down. So it's construction world, man. It sucks in some ways, but other ways it's kind of fun. Like some days I'm told, hey, go out to this property. It's the only job you have today. Make it last all day if you want to. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's a 2-hour job that make it last 10 hours. So
is that for more pay?
Yeah, basically. So we have a lot of big projects that are delayed because construction's always delayed too. And so we've had some small jobs to kind of fill in while we're waiting for them to get kicked off. And like right now, we had one job today we could have probably got the property at 8 o'clock and knocked it out by 11. We made it last till about 1.
Okay.
So, it's stuff like that. You're told to do that. And it doesn't feel right, but the office guys are like, you need the hours. We don't want you just doing nothing. So, it's fun work. I enjoy working outside. You could use chainsaws, machetes, stuff that other people don't get to use, And I got a degree to do this, and it's kind of cool that I'm not in an office yet. I'm gonna be happy when I am. I'm gonna be pay raise gonna be good. Everything's gonna be better. No sunburn, skin cancers likelihood's gonna be less. But I love being able to do some things outside, and I get to run into wild hogs every once in a while, which kind of gets the heart rate going, kind of scary. Get to deal with some angry neighbors yelling at you for stepping on their property or whatever. Which we're technically public servants. We're allowed to be on your property. So if you ever see a guy in an orange vest with a little GPS pole with a little dome on top, technically he is allowed to be there. You are allowed to ask him to get off your property, and he should. However, he is just like your gas meter man, where he's allowed to walk in and go look at the thing he needs to look at and get off. So just a little public service announcement. Yeah.
So when you mentioned, if I can bring it back, you mentioned that you started at A&M, and then if you don't mind me asking, what was the reason to go to TCC? Were you just kind of figuring out what you wanted to do?
It was not my decision, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my parents' decision. My grades after my first year were 2.4, which
was that because of the core, do you think?
No, it was probably more so me. My second semester I had a 3 flat, so it wasn't like it was bad. The first semester was a 1.9, I think. I think it was partially due to me not wanting to study, partially due to me being in engineering and not having a STEM background. I mean, you understand when we went to high school, it was very much, you read stuff by, I can't even think you read Socrates, Apologies, you read Aeneid. We were pretty classically educated, but we didn't have the math curriculum or the science curriculum. And I definitely didn't know what coding was until I got into engineering there. And I didn't understand it. So I think I bowed out a little earlier than I probably should have too. But I panicked when I got into having to study was not something I was used to. And so I think that's probably what did it for me. But yeah, going to TCC was not my choice. It was a really good thing for me though. I think it really helped me mature. Actually, I came back and coached at our high school Covenant. I coached soccer for a little bit with them. Hung out with Sam Pettit, those, I think they were seniors at that point. And then I, just kind of worked and took like 12 hours at TCC and going back to AM the next semester. Because I got a 4.0 or something like that. My parents like, oh, you clearly, yeah.
At TCC, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, still though, that's awesome. Like,
yeah. It was,
same thing for me. Like in Covenant, I think I got like a 3.3, and that was like the best I could do. Was like some C's, B's, maybe an A or two, but I was not cutting it at Covenant for my standard. And I remember going to TCC and just kind of again going through math. I was trying to go on a business track, and just not really getting it.
How long were you there for?
At TCC?
Yeah.
2 years.
Okay, cool.
As long as
so we were there at the same time.
Probably.
Were you at the Northeast campus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Were we there at the same time?
Yeah, I only had a couple. I had one class in downtown Fort Worth and 3, I think. I had a calc class, human geography, I think. Might have been something else, but it was some type of geography class and speech class. Yeah. What'd you take?
All of it.
Oh, yeah.
All the basics. Yeah. And from there, it was either like go to NYU for film school, but it was like 70 or 80,000 per year.
What?
Yeah.
Dude.
And another reason I kind of turned that away was going and looking at their actual equipment. It was like from the 80s, super outdated equipment.
It'd be kind of fun though.
It would be. I mean, just living there would be amazing.
Challenge.
Yeah. Or A&M. So it was between NYU or A&M.
Yeah.
My sister was already at A&M. So I went to
I used to see her all the time.
Really?
Semester, that after the semester went back, I would go from, what class was it? It was a Python class every morning that semester, that spring semester. And I'd walk across to, I don't know if my bus stop or somewhere else, but I'd walk like towards, what's the dining hall on the north side? Sabisa, yeah. I'd walk down that road towards Sabisa from close to Blocker, but not Blocker. I walked down that road and I passed her like maybe 10 times that semester. Just, hello, Hannah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
Going back to A&M, like, did you go back to the core? Did you? No. And
I was already out before I left A&M in the first place. I was done during the first semester. Yeah.
What were things about the core that you didn't like? Besides, I mean, even including the obvious things.
Didn't like the fact that I wasn't allowed to eat that much. So it wasn't that I wasn't allowed to. So they are very strict on the rules for like how you eat. You have to put bites small enough to be able to chew within 2 seconds, because if they ask you a question you don't respond immediately, you're pushing. And so I was 140 pounds or 145 wet going into freshman year of college. And I'm 6'1". So I'm not a big dude. I had dropped down to below 120 by the time I got out of the core, because I couldn't eat that much. I mean, it wasn't like I was trying to avoid eating. Yeah, like it was, and I mean, it just wasn't sustainable for me. I had really bad strep too that Butyl didn't diagnose right. They said it was allergies and gave me like a Tylenol or like a Claritin, sent me on my way. But it was really bad strep. Like my throat was bleeding and stuff. Like it was super raw, and I just got to the point where I was like, this is. But I enjoyed it. Like I actually enjoyed like being told to drop and do push-ups. I love that. Like psychological stuff.
Masochist.
Yeah, I was totally fine with the athletic, like the fitness stuff. I loved that. It reminded me of 2 days in football, like stuff that reminded me of high school cross country or track. Like I did not mind it at all. It was the studying with all that really was just like, this is way more than I was signing up to do. So. Which, I mean, that's exactly what you're signing up to do. But it was more than I was expecting. Yeah.
So it almost sounds like it was like hazing. Not entirely, but just a little bit.
Okay, I don't know what your definition of hazing is, but I had an uncle who was in the Corps. And I tell him stories about me in the Corps.
Yeah.
And I also would probably agree with him on this. There's no hazing at all. Okay. Like, I mean, I think there are some friends of mine that I talked to years after that were in different outfits and stuff. And they told me some stuff that was hazing. I never received any. I wasn't in very long, so I don't think that I would have. And the upperclassmen really liked me a lot, so I don't know if they would have protected me, but they probably. I don't know what would have happened if I stayed longer. Our definition of hazing is soft. It is really weak. Like it's like I rushed Bucks my junior year, so I was in a kind of fraternity, Christian fraternity. We got shut down for hazing because we had this guy called the Puppy Pledge. Okay, and then just think this is going to actually sound really adorable and cute. So first off, you sign up to be a pledge, right?
Yeah.
You're not forced to be a pledge. You are totally and willing, devoting yourself to a fraternity. Not necessarily a great thing, but like, you're signing up for it. You decide to do that. It's your decision. So within that, there are special roles that certain pledges can sign up for to become like Puppy Pledge or the Newscast Pledge. Mm-hmm. So Puppy Pledge is one where if you signed up, the entire fraternity would get your phone number and send it into group messages, post it around campus with the instructions under the phone number saying, text this number for a picture of a puppy. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do, send a picture of a puppy back to the person who texts you. Well, STUAC, is that the terrible Nazi org that controls that type of stuff?
I guess so.
They deemed that as hazing, so we got our pledge ship shut down. Yeah. So, see, this is what I'm talking about. So, like, I'm not sure if you would count that as hazing. I think that's hysterical. Like, it's not something that's even. I don't think it's that bad. Like, I think that's.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, like it's an enjoyable thing, and it gets like people from France and Australia were texting this guy. Like the number gets around. So yeah, there's stuff like there is hazing. Not so much in definitely not in Bucks. I didn't see any of it, at least. If there was hazing, it was within like your Bible study group, and it was not anything.
Bible study group. Yeah,
so it's called a cell group, and so once you get your big and your little or whatever, you're within like your family lineage and then like another family lineage. It's like 8 people, and there might be like a induction to your cell group. So like one year, for my grand little, I made him carve a pumpkin, like jack-o'-lantern, and wear it around for like an hour or two. Yeah, like okay,
it makes sense.
Like it's not bad. Like the dude just wore a pumpkin on his head. Like he could see, he could breathe. There's no restriction of any way, and he enjoyed it. Like it was totally fine. But the stuff like that, the initiation stuff, like we do things that are kind of goofy, but I mean we try very hard to stay within the rules. But STUAC is just so strict, man. Mm-hmm. Like some like there have been instances in the past from fraternities. Like I'll give you an example of one instance. I'm not going to tell you the fraternity who did this. They took a whole bunch of pledges, blindfolded them, which blindfolding is against STUAC rules, and they lined them up in a field, put them on their knees. There's like 30 of them blindfolded, and the actives have a 60-pound sack of flour and a shotgun and a pistol.
Oh my gosh.
And what they would do is they would ask the pledges historical questions about the fraternity, and if the pledge got it right, just move on to the next one. Got it wrong, they would fire the shotgun and drop the sack of flour so that all the other pledges around them think they just dropped the kid. And once you in the moment, you're like freaking out. Holy crap, this is terrible. Take the blindfolds off, everyone's still alive, and it's just like, oh, you got us, Yeah. And so I would count that probably as hazing, but I don't see what's necessarily terribly wrong with that. I could also just be stupid, but I think that's hysterical. Yeah. Do you have thoughts on that?
I think it's a little, maybe a little terrifying in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just imagining college students with a pistol and a shotgun.
Yeah.
Blindfolded with your pledges.
Yeah. Well, the actives aren't blindfolded.
Right. The pledges are blindfolded.
Yeah.
And did they know that they had a pistol and a shotgun before they were blindfolded?
I have no idea. I wasn't there for that. This happened like 2010s or younger. Like this was way before us. Yeah.
I could just imagine though that they have like everybody's blindfolded, nobody knows what's going on, and then gunshot and just. It's like
it would be terrifying.
The effect of it is not that bad. Nobody's harmed. Nothing's really happening. But
in the moment,
it would be a little scary.
And the fraternity got a strike for that. Like makes sense, but I don't think that's even that bad. I know what they did back in the 80s and 90s. What they're doing, especially in the core. That this stuff is so mild now. Yeah. It's so mild. It's like, I mean, people. Man, I think that we've gotten soft. We've been coddled a little bit, our generation specifically. I'm sure the younger ones have too. I think that there needs to be a little less coddling. Not necessarily to the point where you're faking killing kids to scare the pledges, but like, it's so weird how anything and everything is like, you call a kid stupid, you're in the principal's office, and some of the stuff is really light. Like my fiance's mother is a vice principal. She had an instance recently where a kid had been bullying this kid for the entire year. And it's it's April or March. I can't remember. It was a couple months ago. And this other kid, the quietest, just sweet kid, gets the good grades, doesn't say anything, doesn't stir the pot at all. He's a taller kid, but he's just, always sits in the back and just doesn't, no one messes with him. He doesn't mess with anyone else. Just gets fed up, punches the bully in the face. Well, guess who gets in trouble? It's not the bully. It's the guy who stands up. Well, why is that? Well, it's because he's the one that got caught throwing the punch. But however, we let the bully get off scot-free, but the kid who defended the one being bullied is the one who gets his dad on the phone, and he's Asian. He's an Asian culture. And so his dad doesn't put up with that crap. And so he got laid into by his family for doing a good thing. And I just don't understand. There's a lot of injustice when it comes to like bullying. I think especially young men need to be taught more how to throw a punch and how to take a punch. And I don't think we have that anymore in especially our younger kids. It's just, it's not there. I think that a fight every once in a while, I don't think that they're good. I think they're necessary. I really do. I really think that you have to learn respect for someone else. And I mean, if you disagree with this, feel free to cut in at any point. But I think to the point where we've taken things is extremely bad for society. And that's when you see that with people, rioters and protesters. They don't think there's any consequences for the action. At half the time, there's not. But the one time there is, they don't know what to do. They're getting arrested and they're crying. Like, dude, you blocked a highway. Of course you're going to get arrested. Like, I don't understand why you're upset about this. There's no more accountability anymore. And I mean, I don't know how I've gotten there from hazing, but there's, I think that sometimes there is such thing as toxic masculinity, but I think there's also very good things in masculinity. And one of those things is being able to physically defend yourself and to intimidate others with your physicality. Again, you can use that for bad, but if you use it for good, it's a fantastic trait. And people don't support that anymore. They only see the bad in it. It's weird, man. It's really weird.
You mentioned that this generation you feel like they're more coddled. Where do you think that's coming from?
I really don't know.
I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. I really don't. I don't know, man. I know that you look at our grandparents, they're tough. They all went to war. They're in Vietnam, or older grandparents might be Korea or World War II. They've been through it. I think that the kids after them and the ones after them, they never really had no one got drafted. No one was in combat unless they wanted to. And they just had life really good, man. Weak times or good times produce weak men. I think that's probably what we're seeing. It's just a lot of good times, and they've produced a lot of weak men, and weak men produce hard times, and we're about to start any of those hard times, I think. But I don't have an explanation for exactly. I couldn't pinpoint a moment or a event or anything like that would cause that.
Okay.
Yeah.
For somebody who wants to maybe express their masculinity or their physicality in a productive way, what are some things that you would suggest, or some things that you think are productive ways to express that?
I think you could agree with this. One way is to probably lift weights. I know you work out a fair amount, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say certainly that. Then you start running into hurdles of and I think honestly, I think that to protect that even more, I think there should be gender separated gyms too.
That's an interesting thought. I've not heard that before.
Yeah, I really do think there should be gender separated gyms. Because, well, I mean, again, I think that let's go back to that topic later, but I think that
that's such a good topic.
Yeah, we'll come back in a second. Yeah. I think that men should have a place where they can get energy out, and I think weightlifting is a really good way. I think that sitting around all day on electronic devices is a waste of time, energy. I think we sit too much in an office. I don't think that, and you look at schools that's not catered to men. I think boys especially have a lot of energy growing up, and they're just told to sit at a desk and just conform. I don't know. I think that finding a gym or finding a boxing club or finding a jiu-jitsu club or finding an activity that's outdoors, it could be fishing for all I care. I think something more physically active is better, but just doing something that's not at a desk or inside where there's fluorescent lights. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the better ways to help with that. I kind of forgot your question though. I'm going off on a tangent now.
Talking about physical, I think you answered the question, physical activities.
Yeah.
So if you don't necessarily enjoy, or it sounds like you don't really prioritize staying inside watching TikTok and stuff. What do you do for fun? What are your pastimes?
Well, right now I'm planning a wedding. So
Right, okay.
yeah. If it was up to me, I'd be out at the soccer fields every day, just passing a ball around. I mean, I'm not good at soccer anymore. I'm out of shape. I try to run still. I do lift every once. I try to lift at least 2 or 3 times a week. It's kind of hard especially when you're working outside in 90-degree weather, to get in the gym after that. But I do try to get in the gym quite a bit. I really don't have. My fiance and I are actually gonna start building Lego sets together.
That's so cute.
We started watching the Star Wars series, and I turned to her one day and I was like, "Babe, why don't we just build Lego sets together?" And she was like, "That's a great idea." And I was like, "This is why you're my fiance."
How did you guys meet? I saw on your Instagram you kind of knew each other at A&M. Did
Yeah.
you guys meet at A&M?
So my going into my senior year was COVID summer. That was 2020.
Yay.
Yeah. So I was a fish camp counselor that year. Got my little that fall, and the next semester my little text me, "Hey, we need impact counselors." And for those of you who don't know what fish camp or impact are, fish camp's the introductory camp for freshmen to A&M. Only A&M freshmen can go. Impact, however, is like a Christian oriented one, so it helps people getting plugged into Christian orgs, churches. They have like tables there to help, and people from those orgs that go to that camp to help get those freshmen involved in church, because there's a high rate of young Christians when they go to college drop out of the church altogether or come back to it later. But we were trying to help cure that problem at A&M. So I get a text from my little. He says, "Hey, we need guy counselors, sign up for this." And I wasn't really in the mood, but I was like, you know what? He asked me, why not? And so I signed up, and I got selected as a counselor. And through my, so in a camp counselor, like our hierarchy, you have the camper, you have the counselor, you have the co-chair and chair, or just the co-chair, I guess, in Impact, where you have a male and a female co-chair that are over the counselors, and they help train the counselors. And you have like prayer teamers too; they're kind of equal. And then you have executives and trainers at the top. So my co-chair,
You were a chair.
I was a counselor.
Okay.
Yeah. My co-chair was my female co-chair had several roommates, and I had just been broken up with going into that fall semester after Impact happened, or after Impact the camp happened. I got dumped like, I don't know, right before the semester started. And I wanted to take girls to date parties and to formals and stuff, but I didn't really know many girls because I had a girlfriend for so long that I didn't really bother trying to make female friends.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was like, hey, I don't want to take freshman and sophomore girls who my friends are offering me because they're younger. It just kind of feels illegal, I don't want to do that. And so I was like, can I take some of your roommates, because they were seniors and I was a fifth year, so just a little bit closer in age. And she was like, yeah, sure. And so took my fiance to Boots and Bells, which is a 2-stepping date party that Bucks has, and then took her to a gun range.
Dang.
Yeah. And then she invited me to go watch Mike Pence speak that semester. And around that time, and that whole time I was like, I don't want to date, and she didn't want to date, and so I was like, I really don't want to date, because I'm trying to restore, like, this is 2 months, like maybe 3 months after I've been broken up with, and it was like that was a long relationship. And so I'm really trying hard not to. Like, I'm talking to my roommate every night, like, hey bro, she's awesome, she's almost like, she's everything I can imagine, but I just don't want you right now. This is not, I don't know if I'm there yet. And this guy, his name is Ryan Nearing. He just got engaged actually this weekend too. I'm very happy for him. Shout out to you, Ryan. You're probably not gonna listen to this, but no. He kept pushing me. He's like, "No, bro, just do it, man. Like, why not?" She says, "No, why not? What happens if you go on 2 dates and nothing happens? Like, who cares?" So I get invited to a Christmas party at their house, and I'm sitting there shaking because I'm like, I want to ask her out, but I don't want to. And she was still dancing with her friends, kind of having a fun time. And I was like, well, opportunity's not here. I'm not doing it. So I start walking out, and she stops me like, hey, you let me borrow a mug earlier in the semester that was like Steven Crowder Mug Club mug.
Yeah.
not a fan of him right now, but you know, I had the mug at the time, and she was a big Ben Shapiro fan, so I was like, here's the
cute.
yeah. So I was, you know, it was a way to connect to her, and so she goes and retrieves the mug. So at that point, she separates herself from the friend group, and I was literally about to walk out the door, and so my friend who had a friend who was with me trying to talk me up to ask her out, and he like kind of turns, looks at me, and I'm like, so I kind of push him out the door, so it's just me and her, and she gives me the mug, and I kind of like, hey, actually, and I lean against their island. Well, their island and their kitchen is not stuck to the ground, so I kind of lean against it and I just fall over. And so I like stand up real fast. I'm like, so would you like to go on a date with me? You know, like, you know, trying to be suave about it. Yeah. And she didn't know at the time, but she was actually really into me too. But she was like also trying to hide it. So we went on the first date. Literally put my shoes on the wrong feet before I left my house. Had to switch that up real quick. And then really nervous the first hour. But after that hour, we went looked at Christmas lights together. It was like December 5th or 11th or something like that. Then went axe throwing right after Christmas and ice skating January 5th. And that's when we were like, I don't want to see anyone else. And so we started dating. And almost a year and a half later, May 14th, we got engaged. So yeah, it's been a journey for us. And I'm really excited for the next year. She's about to start law school in North Texas in Dallas. And once that her first year's up, we're getting married.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it, man.
How do you, I guess anybody would ask this to somebody who's recently engaged, but like, how do you know that they're the one for you? Is it a feeling? Is it something you felt for a while?
I guess it's a feeling. For me, it was being able to look back and see how God worked and just like every single domino that fell for me to meet her, for me to to start a relationship with her, and for it was just so like perfect, from my little asked me to join Impact to my two co-chairs mistaking me as a sophomore in my application, thought it said sophomore, not fifth year. So that's why they picked me, because they thought I was younger. So that's how I got to know my co-chair, who was roommates with her.
Yeah.
Met her
by a little mistake.
Yeah,
like
by a little mistake like that. I met her July 24th, moving my co-chair and her to a different apartment. To me getting broken up with that beginning that semester. To me going through my little rebound phase of, you know, just got really into whiskey. Love whiskey now.
It was worth it.
Yeah. And that also helped me become closer with a lot of guys that really came around me and supported me. And I realized how good, like, made really good friends I wouldn't have something like that didn't happen. Like, it was just like watching God, like, being able to look back and see, like, that was not me. That definitely wasn't me. That was certainly not me. But how did all this go together just for, like, this one moment of, like, I met this girl. And, you know, through the relationship, we've had our ups and downs, but we've talked about things like we have similar principles. We have similar mindsets on parenting. We clearly don't know exactly how it's going to look because we don't have kids yet. We're not married. We have similar morals. And just the way that it's not based on, I mean, attraction is like one aspect of like dating, but like physical attraction, but the way I can just like look at her and it's like her smile, it's in her eyes, it's the way she talks. Like the second date we went on, we were leaving Tim Love's Love Shack. It's a burger place in Cowtown. This homeless man stops us and he asks for money, and she just, not even like half a second into him asking for money, it's giving him her leftovers, her fries, and her burger. And I pulled out like $5 and handed it to him because I was kind of thrown off, but I was like, she just gave this man her entire like bag of food that I paid for. No, but like she just so willingly did it. And then I was at Ben Fitzgerald's wedding a little while ago, and there was a server who was struggling to open a door. She had her hands full of like trash and stuff, and she just goes over and opens the door for her. It's stuff like that. Then I'm just like, this woman, I clearly see her, like exhibiting traits of like Christ-like behaviors and stuff like that, and something that I fell in love with. And we were really good about. We didn't say we loved each other until 9 months in. That was something I told her I didn't want to say early on, just to protect ourselves. I feel like that word specifically has a lot of power, and so for me, and it's not dogging anyone who says early. I don't think it's wise. It's kind of like having sex before marriage. It can cause things between two people that it's harder to let go of if you have to let go of them, you know.
Yeah.
And so the love, I waited until I was pretty certain that I was certain last May. She took her a little more time. I was ready to commit, but I also knew that I should probably wait longer to say that I love you too, just to make sure, because I didn't want to ruin it. So it's a feeling, but it's also just kind of like you have a list of attributes you look at. And you know this, you have things you want to knock off the list, and you can't hit all of them, but you hit a lot of them, and you're like, okay, this can work. We get along in a lot of ways. We don't get along in some ways. I'm not perfect at all. She'll tell you that. So yeah, it's a feeling, but it's also just, you know. I don't know if it's I guess it's completely a feeling, but love is also an action. You kind of, I don't know, sure what spurs it, but love is something that you exhibit through how you treat them and how you care for them too. So I feel love for her, but I also know that I choose to love her because it's not just a feeling.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would agree that love is definitely an action.
Yeah.
On a different note, totally different note.
That's fine.
All of that was great. Who do you keep up with from school? Because when we went to A&M, it was like Danny, Kurt, Cade, Jacob, me, Riley.
Jackson Hill was there.
Jackson Hill.
Ryan Burke was there for a little bit. I'm not sure if he stayed there. Rachel Turner was there.
That's true.
Morgan was there for a little bit. I can't think of anyone. Niven Raj was there for a little bit. So from Covenant,
I'm just curious, or like
who I intentionally keep up with, or who I've seen.
I guess I don't know who you keep up with, because when I look at my life, it's like Jamie, Ryan, and then I have no idea what anybody else is doing.
I probably won't count Jamie or Jacob because I haven't reached out to them in a while. I need to, but I have reached out to them since last summer. So we've talked to everyone, and I've lived with Jacob for 3 years in college. Definitely Kurt. We're in the same Clash of Clans clan. Danny, I live with him. Joshua, I keep up with a little bit. I don't reach out to Joshua that much. I probably need to more. Ben, I do keep in touch with. Saw Kate at Ben's wedding, but I don't really keep in touch. I can't claim that. Also saw JJ and Mason there.
That's awesome.
I do keep in touch with Jack. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I do keep in touch with, this is different, Paul Laywell.
Okay.
Yeah, love that man. I actually, once I graduated, I got in touch with him, and we used to meet up once a week for a while. And then I started a class at my church. It was the same time where we met up, and I just kind of cut that off. I need to talk to, I think he's in Alaska right now on a vacation, so I need to get in touch with him again. I did talk to him for a little bit. I'm not for other grades. I don't really keep in touch with anyone. It's mostly just the dudes, you know. Yeah. I'm glad that we're in touch right now, though. I'm enjoying this. Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Who do you keep in touch with?
From Covenant, just Jamie, Ryan. You know, like you kind of see what everybody's doing. Yeah. But for me, this is just how I felt. I felt like I kind of pushed myself away from all of the high school friends. Yeah. Especially during college, because I thought if I can't make friends outside of my high school bubble, then I felt like, what am I doing? Like I need to branch out. But I think hearing from Whitney in one of the episodes I did with her, I think there is some benefit though to keeping that circle close, because we did spend a lot of time with each other. Yeah. As students, like years of our life together. So wondering if you're staying with Danny, like what is the advantage of, like you've been classmates, you've been in college together, now you live together. Yeah. What's the advantage of, I guess it's, you know, besides just obviously friendship?
I think we both know each other's character very well. Danny has seen me go through breakups, and I've seen him go through a couple of hard situations too. This is our first time living together, which is kind of weird because I've lived with a couple of guys for Covenant, and I somehow avoided living with him. But I think that it's knowing his character is a great, like, that's one of the reasons why I have an affinity to like go back to these guys. I know them very well. I have a lot of guys from Bucks that and also Danny was in my cell group in Bucks too. So like we got like it was junior high. We met in 7th grade, high school together, A&M together.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Bucks before I was. I joined the year after him. His cell group they had a whole bunch of old guys that left, and then the younger guys became inactive. So I had him join our cell group. So we got a little closer through that. He graduated a year before I did, so we kind of split up. But he came down a couple times for like football games to stay with me. So I think there's a lot of advantages because he was the first guy after besides Jack maybe after my breakup when I was going through my I don't want to call it alcoholic phase, but I was definitely
the whiskey phase.
Yeah, I was drowning the sorrows. He was one of the guys that was actually concerned about me. He told me that straight up. From high school. I mean, not knocking on the other guys. They didn't know. Like, it's not their fault. Yeah. He saw it, so he was concerned, and so he was very intentional about like asking me how I was doing and stuff like that. And Jack was too. He came down a couple times for like a wedding or something like that from a friend, and so we talked a little bit then. I think the advantage is they've seen me, or Danny and Jack and Kurt and Ben, they've seen me through a lot more than some of the guys that have just met me in college. However, those not to negate their impact as well, because I know that my friend Ryan and my little brother McGee, not so little brother, the dude's like 6'5", 320. Those guys really came around me, and me and Andrew would sit on the balcony at his house, smoke a cigar with a glass of whiskey, and just talk about the scripture we read together, and talk about life and just struggles and stuff like that. Stuff that I never had done with someone else. And that's what's the benefit of a new relationship, though. It's very hard to, once a relationship is started, to change the foundations of it. So like with me and McGee, we really got close that fall semester. And it was based on scripture reading and accountability, and like it was very much a Christ-centered relationship. To do that with a high school friend, it's not impossible. For sure, it's not impossible. But it's kind of like Jesus returning to his hometown and getting shouted down. It's not the same. They know where you've been, which can be good or bad. It depends on how they view it. It's good if they have the same mindset of, I'm a redeemed Christian too. It's bad if they're kind of like, dude, why are you talking to me like you're higher and mighty than me? And that's also how you would approach it as well. You don't want to come across as judgmental. It's hard to do that sometimes, because calling someone out, even though we would say it's judgmental, is not necessarily judgmental, but they would see it as that way because they're being told they're doing something wrong. So it has its advantages to having a new relationship, that you have a foundation that you're able to set and say, this is what I want this to be. But like me and Danny, every once in a while, we'll do the same thing where we sit down and we just talk about the scripture we've been reading. We did that for a while. I need someone my age, because Paul's great and he has a lot of wisdom, but someone my age is also helpful because they understand modern trials and tribulations a little better than a man in his 60s who hasn't been on social media ever in his life. So,
if you don't mind me asking, could you elaborate on what trials you think our generation's facing?
Yeah, I think some things, certainly social media, an hyper-sexualized presence on social media. It's not very hard just to go on and you
right, I totally,
yeah, you understand what I mean. That's a big one, especially for young men. That's a big one. For young ladies, it's very toxic. Although there's a lot of this body positivity and self-positivity stuff on social media and stuff, I think all that's terrible. You're not good enough. No one's good enough. Stop listening to people telling you you're good enough. You're not. You suck. You're a terrible human being. Like, let's get that through. But what are you going to do to make yourself better? Like, no one needs to be sit there and told you are good enough in the state you are, because you're not. No one is. Like, it's ridiculous. And people are becoming complacent due to that, and I think that's a big issue. So I think social media is a massive issue, because there's a lot of things that stem from social media that are just terrible. There's some good things. There are some good things. There's always good that comes, or there's always bad that comes with good, and I think in social media's case, the bad vastly outweighs the good. The good started, when in 2008, when it's, oh look, my dog rolled over today. He's so cute. But now it's not that at all. Social media is politically toxic. I only have Instagram because I tried Twitter for like 2 months. it was during COVID too, and I found some pro-mask Twitter accounts, and I started dogging them for a little bit. I was like, I can't do this. This is terrible. I'm not being a good person doing this, so I had to get rid of it. So I think social media is one. I think that a very selfish culture is another thing. I think the lack of moral unity is another thing. I think that the fact that we no longer are a very Christian nation is a big deal. Makes it, I mean, like you have things like abortion being it's a major controversy. Well, why is that? Well, you look back when the founders made the Constitution, 95% of the country is Christian. So if someone disagreed morally, it was very rare. Everyone could agree that, oh yeah, I think the murder is bad, or I think that lying is bad, I think that cheating is bad, I think stealing is bad. Now you don't really have that same moral unity. You have a lot of people that think that a gender is something that's not black and white, and there's things like that I think that also are expounded because of social media. I think it's a lack of Christ, though, a lack of being told, hey, let's put a pause on this and step back, look around. Where are we getting our identity from? It's not in Christ. And I think that's where a lot of people are turning to social media and gender positivity, and a lot of other things are just, I'm kind of satanic, if I'm being honest. Like, it's kind of hard for me to say that, but it's definitely not something that is to be taken lightly. So
I feel like when you try to live a life that's subversive to the majority, it takes a lot of effort and energy. Would you agree with that? Like, to live a Christ-like life?
Yeah, for sure. Certainly. It also depends what circles you run in. If I'm in the company I work with is Christ-centered. I'm running with my church quite a bit. So it's not, for me, it's not terribly difficult because my circles I've built around me are Christ-centered circles, but that's probably an indication that I probably should get out of the comfort zone a little bit. I'm not saying I should just go to a strip club and talk to oh, hey, what's up, man? Have you heard of Jesus Christ? But like, probably maybe look around and be more intentional with some of my friends who I know aren't Christians, and maybe reach out to them some more often.
You mentioned that sometimes calling people out will bring about somebody saying like you're judgmental, and that you said it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but that's how it comes across. Do you feel like that happens to you often? Or just from time to time?
From calling out, for me calling out or being called out?
People calling you out as, oh, you're judgmental for
no, I don't, because I don't call out as much as I probably should, if I'm being honest. I was called out recently by my fiance's brother, actually, for cussing too much. And very, very real problem that I have been like trying to work on.
You've been doing great on this podcast so
I do appreciate it. But I think that but me and him are in a relationship in a position where he can do that, and like I can accept it. I think that it comes from not having a relationship that's, again, foundationally built on ability to do that. I probably should call people out more often. I get concerned with, well, how am I going to, like, will this come back to me? Am I doing things good enough on my own? And I usually am not, or I tell myself I'm not, so I usually don't do it. I also don't necessarily, unless someone comes to me and asks, I usually will refrain, which is different from probably high school me. I usually tend to take a step back and let guys come to me. There's a lot of opinions I have about, like, maybe a girlfriend, or maybe an action a friend's taking, and I'll talk to another guy about it, and they'll have the same, like one of our other friends about it, and we'll be like, dude, what are they doing? But we ultimately, both of us will come down to, oh, they're an adult, they can figure it out. Probably not the right mindset. So yeah, I probably should call people out more often. I'm talking more, when I say that, I'm talking more like when I see it happen on like social media or YouTube. That's what I'm referring to more. I haven't really had much experience with it on my own. I have called out my roommate back in college. He was life group leader at Antioch Church, and I called him out.
I went to Antioch.
And it was a good church. I went there for a while too. How long did you go there?
Maybe 6 months, because it was like I was physically at A&M for about a year.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe towards the end of that year in March, COVID started. And then it was like, okay, go home. If you don't want to be here, you can go home. So all the classes are online now. And I just went back home.
Yeah.
So probably like maybe 6 to 8 months, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Well, did you happen to know him, Isaac Gallegos?
I don't think so.
Okay. They had several sections live groups, so it doesn't surprise me you don't know him. But I mean, I've called him out, and I've been wrong even in calling him out before. He wasn't doing anything terrible. It was more so just like, hey, I don't think that Antioch should be singing songs that are from Bethel Church or Elevation or something like that. Because I've seen videos from those churches that have like weird puppets at prayer rallies and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know what that's about. It's just kind of, and I've heard things about them that I disagree with foundationally, and so I've asked why are we singing these songs, and well, I mean, I very well could be wrong in my mindset of calling them out. I've accepted that. I don't think I am, but you run the risk of also being wrong and calling out, and I think it's a good risk to take sometimes. But you just gotta. But again, I haven't really called that many people out, so. And he's very accepting of it, and he was very calm and collective, and I was calm and collective too, and we worked it out, and it's whatever. He has a really good heart though. If I called someone out that was probably not a Christian, or was a guy say in my fraternity that was not living a very Christ-centered life and was making the fraternity look bad, I don't think it would have gone the same way.
Mm-hmm.
If I called out a guy that I knew was open to it and would take it well. So that's the only experience I really have that I can think off the top of my head of calling someone out like that. Yeah.
On a different note, I was thinking when you went back to A&M, you studied economics with a
that was the plan. I didn't actually wind up doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Geographical
information, science, technology. Yeah.
Mass something technology. What was it?
Science technology.
Science technology.
Mm-hmm.
And then you found out they had a major, and then you pursued that. What was your like inspiration to do that? And when you were taking that major, did you have this career in mind?
No. Inspiration it was a technology-based degree, and so I figured that if I wanted to go business, they have something called MIS, Management Information Systems. Well, all it's different is instead of a G, it's an M. So okay. I could have gone to business and done something within there, and I was like, it is technology based. I will forever have a job. That was the only reason why I did it. So it was not necessarily money driven. It was more so just I want to make sure that I'm job secured.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my mindset behind it. It was not oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I wound up falling in love with it. Not like it was. Didn't mean to. It was. I loved the major. Loved learning R. Loved learning Python. All the ARC programming. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed a lot of my professors. Was not only did it because it was technology based. That was the only reason.
When you talk about being on the job site,
mm-hmm.
are you mentioned like you have to like get some of the land plots like level or something, or like certain, you mentioned like the.
So are you asking like data collections like everyone's? So what we do, I think you're talking about topographic surveying.
I was just going to ask, like you mentioned that it has to be like some of the inclines.
Oh yeah, for sewers. For sewers and drainage stuff.
Minor.
Mm-hmm.
Are you digging anything, or
no.
You're just
what we do analyzing? Is we will put like a nail in the ground, and we will set that's like 10 foot off from where they're digging, and we'll put the nail in, put our prism pole, which reflects the laser back to the tool station. It shoots a laser, gets it back. The information's it says what high elevation's at, and from there, it computes how far above that point is where the pole is from where the bottom of the pipe should be. And so we have a little wooden stake about 4 foot long. We write like cut, fill, cut if you need to dig a little bit, fill if you need to raise it a little bit, X amount, and we write what it is. It could be, it could be like 10 foot offset, flow line, 8-inch sewer pipe, cut fill, 3.26 feet. So it's information. So when they come through with the contractors and the construction guys, they will look at the stake. They will mark off 10 feet, drill down 6.2 or 3.62 feet. That's all it is. It's quite interesting, from like start to finish, because our boss is an RPLS, which is a registered professional surveyor, and he's also a professional engineer, so he does everything with it. And so I get to every once in a while, I bring me in the office, and he'll talk through things with me, and it's kind of interesting listening to him talk. But I'm not I'm not an engineer, so I don't know half the stuff he's talking about. Well, I can comprehend it. I just can't also regurgitate it for everyone else. So yeah, that's what we do. It's enjoyable, and it's very related to my major, which was a great thing. A lot of people say, oh, I'm doing something that's nowhere near related. We have the programming that I learned, ARC programming. We're using CAD. I did a couple labs in college with CAD. So like once I get in the office, it's going to be the exact same stuff. And I'm very excited for that. Because that was a fear of mine. I didn't want to get a major and do something that wasn't like, at least even business information systems would have been like database analysis and database, like data collection and stuff like that. And we did a lot of that for my major. So like it would have at least translated. I was a little concerned about doing something that was not anywhere related at all.
Was it pretty easy to find your job after you graduated?
So it took me a while because I was pretty set on working for a large firm. I'm not going to name them off top tonight, but I was really set on them. They were really interested in me for the longest time. They had 3 offices in DFW. The 4th one's where I started.
You actually worked there?
No. I started looking like that.
Okay.
They were most interested in me. So I started off talking to them. They hired a guy that had a couple years experience. That's totally fine, whatever. So they said, hey, Frisco office is hiring. We'll send you over there. So they sent everything over there to me. And I just didn't click with the guys. They offered to take me to like a Hooters type establishment for my interview lunch. And
Hooters?
Yeah, it was tight ends, something like that. So like, and I was just kind of, they didn't wind up taking me there, but I was like, you're really about to take an interviewee to a Hooters type establishment. And that really turned me off to the company. So after that interview, I got the interview with the company I'm with now. It has like 10 employees. It's really small. And I really liked it. I liked the idea of being out in the field because this bigger firm was going to put me in the office immediately. So then I went back and interviewed with the Dallas location of this big firm. And I talked to them, and they had 2 guys interview me. Both of them were RPLSs, which is professional land surveyors. Like they're like the doctors of surveying. So it's like a year to get your SIT, which is the first step, then 2 more years to get your RPLS. So it's like, extra 3 years education, but it's in the job site type education. 2 guys interviewed me. One guy was in his 30s. One guy's probably late 40s, early 50s. The older guy had worked in the field before. The younger guy had just gone up through the ranks of the office. So the younger guy was really trying to convince me, no, you're good. You don't need field experience. Like, come here. We'll teach you everything you need to know. And I'd let him talk, and I just kind of look over the old guy, and the old guy just looking at me going. So that's when I knew. I was like, I need to go in the field. So that's why. I had another company that I had like a phone call interview with. But never, after the phone call interview, they said, we'll get in touch. Never got in touch with me again. I was like, okay, well, clearly you're not interested. So yeah, it took me about a month and a half after I graduated to get a job. I was doing small things like I was doing house sitting and stuff like that to help give me some money during that time. But I had enough. I was a waiter in my last semester, and that made me a fair amount. So I was able to stay on that for a little bit. I was with my parents too, so I wasn't like paying rent, but I was able to still afford dates and do things like that for a little bit. Good. Yeah.
Overall, do you feel like you had a pretty good college experience? It sounds like you were part of a lot of different groups and stuff.
I feel like I had a college experience. The first 2 years were miserable. Absolutely miserable. Did not know what I wanted to do. Had a lot of I was really dependent on myself. Didn't really think about, just kind of put God off to the side. Didn't do a lot of, didn't really stop going to church, just kind of was very self-focused, and I really suffered through that. Joined Bucks, and it kind of went up, and then COVID hit. So any positive momentum we had for a better college experience died. Right. I really had a good 5th year. Victory lap, if I could have had, I think it was all worth it in that 5th year. But those first 4 were terrible. First 4 were absolutely terrible. I had fun with the guys, it was never bad, but it was never, it was not what I was told college was going to be until that 5th year. And 5th year was definitely what college was what I was told it was supposed to be. It was much more fun, a lot more brotherhood. It was a better time in the 5th year. But until then, no. Do you have a similar first 2 years not?
I think well, you were at TCC, so you kind of understand.
Yeah.
Going to a community college, they have like groups and organizations, but they're not as like bringing people together. Or if they did, I definitely didn't participate as much as I could have. And you're not living on campus, you're living in some surrounding area. So you're going to class, you do your classes, then you leave. Pretty much everybody else is the same.
Yeah.
Some people are there for a year, some people are there for 2 years, some people are just there for that semester and then they're out.
Yeah.
So I think that in that that sense, and not really feeling like I had anybody else in the area, that was probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
And I think having that mindset, that's what I brought into A&M, where I was like, I'm here for my school, I'm going to do my academics, and then that's it.
Did you live on campus or off campus?
I lived at White Creek.
Okay, so you got the apartments. Yeah.
On campus apartments.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest friends, I tried Bonfire, didn't really click with it.
That's cool.
It was fun, I just didn't click with it.
Yeah.
My sister had some friends at Walton. Like, she was an RA at Walton, so she was friends with all of them. I was friends with all of them. Antioch was probably like the biggest friend group I had at A&M.
Yeah.
Life group.
Yeah, they're extremely good at welcoming people in. Yeah, that's their best trait probably.
Life group, and some of my friends at White Creek, but then and Japanese language club. But then as soon as COVID started, I was actually going to go to Tokyo for a 10-week program, study abroad, and then like a month before COVID started. And so then after that, it was like back home, online classes, but you kind of make do with what happened, you know.
Yeah.
The only regret I have is that like a lot of the Antioch people are in like the Houston area where they live, and so I haven't really had a chance to connect with them like we were in college, but I know they're still really good people, and it'd be cool to see them again.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay, my bad.
You're good. Yeah, so I think I had a pretty good experience. I think going abroad is, I feel like I learned a little bit in college, but going abroad was like the real learning for me. And
for sure. Yeah.
And so I'm still kind of getting adjusted to being back and deciding if I'm going to settle here or not. So
yeah. What was your like overall takeaway from college? Like, how much have you changed as a person, do you think?
Living by myself was awesome.
Yeah.
I love having that freedom, like buying groceries and just taking care of my own needs, taking care of my own problems, things like that. I was always really good at grades. As soon as I got like TCC to A&M, grades were nothing. Yeah. Of course, I was doing English, so it's not like it was super rigorous, but
I mean, it is what you make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I do wish I kind of invested more socially, besides Antioch, maybe going to like other groups, other clubs, because I feel like I definitely hit the mark for grades, but socially I could have invested a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So you were involved with Antioch in college. So what are you doing now that you're back home for church-wise?
I started going to Jamie's church.
Which one is that?
The Colleyville Presbyterian Church.
Oh, the one where actually Covenant.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How is that?
Before that I went to Compass.
The one off of Poole?
Yeah, in Hall Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the pastor. He's really chill. He's like not too heady and just kind of like really laid back, gives you just kind of a simple message. And to me, that's just like perfect.
Right.
For me, though, worship has never been a favorite part of church for me. I've always disliked worship overall, and just like even growing up, I've just never enjoyed it. So the thing about Jamie's church that really stuck out to me was the sermons and the teaching is a little heady for me. I can comprehend it, and it kind of makes sense. It's not as easy as Compass teaching, but the worship is awesome.
What's the worship like?
So compared to Compass is like, your typical like kind of like gateway, like stage.
Yeah, it's you got performance going on.
Yeah, the whole experience. Jamie's was like, all right, I go in, and I think I was just, trying it out just to see. And I go in, and it's just people singing and piano. That's it. And you got the hymnals.
Like hymnals?
Yeah, hymnals and singing. That's it.
During my last semester at A&M, I found this church called Emmanuel Baptist, like northeast of Bryan. Mm-hmm. Small church, like maybe like 80 members, like very like Southern Baptist church. Only hymns. It was like one of the coolest things ever. Like that's why I went there. It was just like very like hymns. We only stick to hymns, and we read from the scripture. We'll reference some guys who have made commentaries, but it's literally just 4 chapters of Revelation today for the entire sermon. And I ate that up. I'm sure, man, it's similar to, I'm sure that's what you're talking, like exact same thing you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
With that, yeah.
For me, it was like, I don't know what the difference is, but instead of just kind of feeling like I'm supposed to be engaged with this like concert worship in a sense, being with the hymnals, it's just like, okay, we're all just singing, and the words are right in front of me, and it's, I don't know, it's just like just hearing the voices just allowed me to like feel more comfortable singing. And so, whereas before I never really enjoyed worship at church, having just singing, just hymnals, it became my new favorite part of church. Yeah. So I don't go every week, but I did recently get baptized.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, I wasn't baptized before, so like it was like a few months ago.
I'm actually shocked by that. We went to church. We went to church for a little bit, like, because I knew you in like the 3rd grade or something like that. Yeah, because you went to Church of the Cross briefly.
Right.
Wow, I had no idea you weren't baptized.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'd always wanted to, especially in like youth group in high school. I was like, I want to get baptized, but I kept thinking it's like this huge monumental experience and it has to be perfect, and I gotta like, I was like, I want to do it in a lake. I wanted this. I want to just have everybody there, and I just kept postponing it because I was like, well, what if I'm not? I kept telling myself, I'm like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not like, what if I'm not ready to like have a switch where I just like become super Christian and exhibit all the Christ-like behavior? And then I think, I don't know, I just kept feeling it. It was pressing on me a lot this year. So then I just thought, okay, I'm going to do it. So I did it. So, yeah.
And did you feel that switch, or was it just
honestly for a time? Yeah. To be honest, it was for a time. Like I know for the fact the time I did it, I was like 100% there. And then for me, the tough thing about that is anytime that I kind of not walk away from God, but kind of set my distance, is because I get involved with a girl, and then it's like, okay, God's like, okay, here's what you should do, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this. Yeah. See ya.
No,
every time for me, at least the past 2 or 3 relationships, it's just like, God's like, hey, maybe you should do this, and I'm like, I'm gonna try this, and then it's just kind of friction. I know that if I go back to God, He'll be there, but you know, I'm trying to like go back and forth, like her God, but it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, you start idolizing the relationship almost.
For sure. Yeah.
No, I understand that. I know when I was in my rebound phase, it only took like 2 weeks. There was a couple times where I was just like, I'd be talking to a girl and I was like, you know what happens here happens. Like, I'm not gonna like, if we go and just like have a kiss tonight, I'm fine with that. If we go all the way, I'm fine with that too. And I didn't even like, nothing happened that entire time where I was like totally like willing to do whatever I wanted. Like nothing happened. God really was like providential in that. But I understand what you mean by like, dude, there's a lot of temptations with that when it comes to relationship. And that's one thing that, I mean, I'm not sure if do you know like the girl's faith at all? Like, or when
she's Chinese, so she's, I think I might be getting her confused with somebody else, but, I know that the people I've dated have been open to faith because they're like, it's important to you. Yeah. I want to be there. I want to know about it. I regret not inviting her to my baptism. I think that would have been really cool. Yeah. But we had just met. It was like the day before we had just went on our first date. So that's, I don't know. And when you talked about values with your fiance, I totally understand. It's like my grandparents always told me the most important thing in a relationship, in their opinion, is similar values. And when they say that, I'm like, yeah, I understand. But then when you see your values are kind of skewed with your partner, if you've had that experience, it's like our values are skewed. Maybe we can make it work, but there are a lot of like butting heads where it's like, I think of things this way. And they're like, well, I think of things this way. Yeah. And the more you have kind of in line, I think it just makes it a little easier. But so I'm trying to like.
And that's not to say that like you can't be different people.
True. Yeah.
But that is to say that like, hey, I think that my child, when he's born, if he is a he is going to be a he. Yeah. And we're not going to raise him any other way. That's something that I feel like you need to agree on going in, or something along the lines of, I think that, or how to raise a kid's that's definitely a big one, or ideas of how do you handle a situation with your coworkers? Are you a yeller? Are you like stuff like that? Stuff that you probably need to know going in. I definitely understand where you're coming from with the not aligning values. I mean, I was in a relationship for a while that you at least were aware of. And towards the end, A lot of our values were no longer aligning. Both of us had changed slightly at the very least, and I was more willing to. I'm not someone who's necessarily too into just going out and getting money for a job. Like I would need money to obviously live, but I'm not out there trying to kill myself to make high six figures. Like I'm fine with making, like right now I'm making mid to high five figures. Like it's not anything massive. It's good. It's a good job.
Awesome.
I'm enjoying it, but it's a good job. But like I'm not out there trying to own a boat in a 5,000 square foot house. So some things like that wound up becoming a friction point. Some things like I'm fine with staying in Texas. Oh, I want to travel a lot. Things like, yeah.
Sounds like my situation right now.
Yeah. But I mean, one thing I would definitely recommend is, I mean, for any relationship, especially as a Christian, is she a Christian? Like that's the, yeah. And if you have feelings for a girl that's not a Christian, it's fine. It's just, dude, I mean, likeliness of life, it's working out not very high. It's the way it is, man. It's just, it's weird. It's weird to think of. It's weird. It's not something you really consider necessarily. You think, oh, well, she votes the same way as I do, or we're all the same classes, or we go to we eat the same foods. We're very similar in how we do everything else. Like, but religion is a lot more than people give it credit to, and spiritual aspects of it too. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it.
I think for me, not in this situation, but in past relationship, forgiveness was like the number one thing where I was like, it was the biggest divide. It was like, I would do something and then they'd be like, it's okay. But then it would come back months later and then it would just build up. And whereas I'm like, you do something, I forgive you, we're fine. I don't even think about it. For them, it was just like a big pile of all the mistakes that I made. And I was like, okay, in the future, like after that, I was like, I need to find somebody that I know at least forgives me. Because, as Christians, that's like a huge, like, that's like, forgive each other, move on, don't hold it over each other's heads as much as you can because we're human. But realizing that in dating somebody who wasn't Christian, and that was like that guilt of just like, you've done all these things, and I'm like, I forgave you for everything you did, and they're like, but I'm still mad. Trying to deal with that was a big issue.
That is frustrating. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. It's not something that, I mean, it's ridiculous, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think you're right when you say that your faith and your understanding of what forgiveness truly is sets you apart in that, and being able to, it's massive relationship, because not if y'all are perfect, especially if you're pursuing that relationship with the intent of marriage. That's major, bro. If a woman cannot forgive you, because dudes mess up a lot more than women. I don't know if it's just me or just me not seeing when a woman messes up, but I know that I can, like, if I'm told I messed up, I'm like, oh yeah, I see it now. Like that's glaring. We need someone to forgive us. We need someone to be able to move on, forget, because, or forgive and forget, because we're definitely not perfect. And I mean, we're men are typically a little more blunt and a little more bullheaded, and then we need the forgiveness too. So I think that's something that's a value right there that you're definitely key on looking for in your next relationship.
I wanted not to pry, but I just wanted to ask, for the most part, because your I'm not going to ask details, but your relationship was pretty long, like from high school to fourth year of college.
Yeah, beginning of the 5th year.
That's how many years is that?
It's 5.5.
That's pretty long. Just for those that are curious, was it an overall pretty good experience, relationship? Just
I learned a lot. There are certainly things and aspects of it that I would have changed. Like, one thing that I certainly regret, and this is because I was just naive, and I was extremely naive in high school. Did not know how to talk to girls, did not know what flirting looked like. I was just did not care. So when I started this relationship, or that relationship, I didn't set any physical or emotional boundaries right off the bat. Big regret there. If you, especially at that age where you're more mature, you haven't had the experiences, that allows you to go down paths that you shouldn't be going down. And I regret it, very much so. I think that if I had listened probably more to my parents or more to my sister, I might have done that. I wasn't ready for maturity-wise relationship. I learned a lot. I did. I'm thankful for the things I did learn from being in a relationship like that. But there's things that I've had to tell my fiance that I wish I didn't have to tell. And it's heartbreaking for me, watching her take that and having to, like, you know, just work with it really just like cut deep in my heart when I told her that stuff. But I mean, I learned a lot. The physical and emotional boundaries. I'm sure you probably will have to deal with that too at some point. It's a big deal, man. You don't think about it in the moment. You think, oh, I'm going to be with this girl for the rest of my life. You're never with the girl for the rest of your life until you all said I do. Mm-hmm. And people think that's ridiculous, because I thought that's ridiculous. Like, no, we've been dating 5.5 years. What are you talking about? We're going to be married. You gotta keep those boundaries going the entire way and make sure you're not supposed to be her accountability partner. You're not supposed to be the one making sure that she's praying before every meal or something like that. But like, you do need to know what she's up to in her walk and what you're up to in your walk, and you got to make sure that you're both going in that direction. You're not accountable for her going the right direction, but if you realize that one of you isn't, you might want to, like, you know, step back and kind of just not just like distance yourself, but do kind of prepare yourself, because there's going to be something comes up later on down the road if y'all aren't going the same way. So basically that's what happened. You know, just drifted apart. A lot of regrets because I didn't do things right. Wasn't ready for it. Shouldn't have dated. Period. It's not there.
Okay.
Yep.
On a lighter note.
Yeah.
Something you brought up was gender separated gyms. I'm really curious. I've never thought about that before. But when you said that, I was like, wait, that totally makes sense. Like, it'd be so much easier to focus if I was in a just man. I mean, I'd still be like looking at the dudes like, dang, that guy's ripped.
Right.
But, yeah. But, you know, it's like
the meme where, like, you go to the gym thinking all the girls will be looking at you like getting jacked, but it's really just a bunch of dudes who are talking around the squat rack. Dude, your max is 650. It's so cool. Like, but no, yeah, I believe that's what should be. Obviously, clearly it's not. I think that should be the norm, because first off, I go to the gym. I don't feel uncomfortable with women around. Women feel uncomfortable with men around, though. I think that's a way to protect protect women. There's some, I mean, most women don't. But the women that do, it's a big deal. They don't, like, a lot of women don't want to work out with men around because they don't lift the same. Men are very aggressive with their lifts. They lift very heavy. They're going to be broy. And even if, like, you know, a man just happens to pan around the room and you make eye contact with the woman, well, now the woman thinks you're staring at her, and now she's going to feel uncomfortable. It's like, that's not how that works, though. Like, I've done that where I've just, you know, I get done with a set, and I'm doing the middle of a set, I'm looking at a mirror, and a girl comes in front of me, picks up weights, turns around, and makes eye contact with me, and I'm just like, crap, now I made eye contact. Now I'm this creeper who all I'm doing is curls while she walked in front of me. Like, you know, it's... Yeah. There's a lot, and you've seen the videos where the girl's like, "Oh my gosh, this creepy man stared at me." The dude glanced over at you for 2 seconds, not even 2 seconds, half a second. Like, this is not a deal. But I think one way to avoid that, gender segregated gyms. I think that men are not. I think that one way it would help with men finding a place to have their masculinity in their masculine space is having all men. It's dudes that want to be in a brotherhood, like, kind of hang out and have a similar interest and talk and have fun together. Again, I'm not saying that all gyms be gender segregated, but, like, if you want to go to a place that's just guys and, you know, you're doing things with guys, like, you're having fun with your dudes, like, why not? Help with girls with their feeling comfortable around men. It's just, I think it's a win-win overall. I don't think it's a bad thing we have gender mixed gyms, but I think that the addition of gender segregated, nice. I think there's a place called Fitness Connection up there. I have someone in this area. My fiance is looking into joining there, and they have a section of their gym that's women only. I'd love that for me to be comfortable with her, knowing that she's not going to be around dudes that could be staring at her. I love that idea. She can be with women that are lifting similar weights, doing similar things. They could talk about whatever they want to talk about, and it's in an area that they can be more comfortable in. I don't see what's wrong with that. I also don't want to go to a gym and look around, and my very first, I just pan through looking, trying to see what squat rack there is. Like, this happened the other day. I was just walking to the gym, and I saw a woman, and I thought she was naked. I seriously did. She was wearing a very, very skimpy sports bra that was nude with Spanx that were also nude. So, like, to the panning eye, I was like, holy crap, that woman is naked. Like, why do I need it? Why am I being subjected to that? Like, I shouldn't be subjected to that. No one should be subjected to pretty much lingerie at a gym. Like, I'm in there, baggy t-shirt, baggy shorts. Like, yeah, just like, your only thing you're seeing is like my arm and my leg. Like, you're not seeing anything else. I'm not trying to show anything else off to you. Is that just because you're comfortable? There's no way that's just because you're comfortable. Baggy t-shirts and sweatpants are comfortable. That is, I don't know what that is. Like, I think that would help with that issue too. I don't know what your thoughts on that are. I just think it's ridiculous to have people dress like that at a gym. I don't see the point in it. I really don't.
I agree. I think there's a time and a place for that. I think, like, of course, girls want to post on social media those kinds of outfits, but I think if you're surrounded by guys at a gym and you're dressing like that, like, I'm guessing there's a reason for that. And if they get those looks, then, I mean, not to say it's their fault, but they're kind of, in my opinion, I feel like they're almost asking for it. Like, dressing like that, you're going to warrant some. Be
careful with that.
No, but I'm just saying, like, how I know it's touchy, but, like, that's just how I think. I just think it's like they're bringing about this attention dressing like that.
And I think I think that also goes back to social media pressure and stuff like that too. That's what they're seeing everyone's doing. Oh, it must be acceptable. I don't think it's acceptable. I think it's still wrong to do stuff like that, and call me old fashioned, but they're subjecting themselves to it. And I think that one way to help reduce it, remove phones from gyms. I know not everyone's out there wearing those things to post on social media with them at the gym, but I think that would help with a lot of these issues. Just no more. If you get to the gym, your phone is off, stays in your pocket, or if you have to make a phone call, but no stuff like you set for a video, you're out for the day. Like, you're done. Like, I don't see the point of having a phone at a gym unless you're like doing a max and you're trying to get hyped up for it.
What about playing music?
Oh yeah, you put that in your pocket though. You're not having it out.
Okay, stuff, so like you can have your phone in your pocket playing.
Or like, you get a text message, you got to read it real fast.
Okay, but like not recording.
Yeah, I don't see the point of setting up a phone and recording it. I mean, again, there are instances where you and 4 other dudes are at a squat rack or a bench press and you're maxing out, and some of the guys are on Snapchat or Instagram and they're freaking out like, oh my gosh, this guy's benching twice his body weight. Let's go. Like, that's fun. It's fun in games, but like there's other things where I'm filming myself walking on the treadmill. Okay, why? There's no purpose in that. There's no purpose at all. So, I think that there's, again, time and place, cell phones at the gym. Yeah, some guys might get upset they can't film them getting a PR. That's to save everything else that could happen. I think that's totally fine.
Do you think the gyms should have a dress code?
Oh yeah, some do.
Some do.
Yeah, some do.
To avoid things like we've talked about.
I'm sure it's to avoid those. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is necessarily. I'm sure that the dress code is no sports bras, no or not no sports bras, no or like t-shirts only or something like that.
I'm at the wrong gym.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that the dress code goes both ways. I'm not gonna. But you also don't see guys necessarily walking in there. Like there's some guys that have like yoga pant type pants. I'm sure that could pose a problem, but I haven't. I mean, I don't know what. And I think the issue more so comes down to also that guys are very visual. Women aren't visual. Okay. And so I guess there could be something that I could be wearing that could be, causing a woman to stare at me. I don't know what it is. I don't think I've never had a woman come up to me or say anything. I've never sat there and just all of a sudden felt the gaze of someone staring at me because I'm wearing something that's too tight. But I think it's more an issue of what women are being told is acceptable to wear in general. They're being sexualized and they don't know it, and it's not their fault. Men are visual people, and it's genetics. It's bred in us. We can't help that. So I think that that would help in that case. And I mean, yeah, it should be applied to both genders, but I don't see men going out there wearing super tight clothing that's suction cups to their body. So
what about guys being shirtless at the gym?
There shouldn't be guys being shirtless at the gym.
You wouldn't like my gym?
No, I don't
guys
think.
shirtless, cameras with tripods, women in sports bras.
No,
it's just
that's
hedonism.
Yeah, I don't think that men should be shirtless. I think running shirtless is like one of the few exceptions, but you're not at the gym. You should be outside running if you're
in
running
front
shirtless.
of all these cars.
Yeah, you know. But if you're a runner, you're not. You're looking like me or Curtis. You're not looking like, or yeah, I mean, and even I've even had issues. I've even thought about before running shirtless. Like, is this? I've been honked at by girls before, and so like, so I've had that. Should I be doing this? And ultimately, I decided not to. More so because I get sunburnt. But yeah, I mean that's something that I've actually I have decided not to run shirtless anymore because of stuff like that. But but that's harder to regulate because it is a public thing and technically it's legal.
Yeah,
that's a whole law you have to change. A gym can have their own rules. So
true.
I'd probably say that it's safe. Make it safe. No, I mean you shouldn't be shirtless in public unless you're at like a public pool, an area that's sanctioned for you to be shirtless. Yeah, so
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot. Do you have any questions for me? Anything?
Where are you wanting to do? What are you wanting to do right now? I understand you're between jobs. You told me that you're English major. You came back from Korea, like 6 months ago?
October.
October, yeah, about 6 months ago. What are you looking for to do, man?
Let's see. It's tough. Cause I'm with somebody right now. I haven't talked about it with pretty much anybody. I haven't posted about it or talked about it, but being with somebody, you have like your life and your plan, and then you have our plan, right? Or maybe my plan, your plan together. But it kind of feels like here's what I want to do, here's what I should do for us. And so I've been thinking about it. I'm like, do I want to live in Texas, where I've lived for most of my life, in Dallas, Fort Worth? I can still travel, I can still go places, but it's a little small. I've thought about like going to Japan.
Really, DFW is a little small for you.
Yes, I've been here so long. I'm just like, what do I do? I mean, okay, if we were growing up in Colorado and I could go hike mountains on the week, you know what I mean? Like,
no, you have a problem with Texas, not Dallas Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I want something to do besides eat and like play.
Yeah.
I want to like go outside. I want to go to the beach. If I was living somewhere where I could be outdoors more often besides like, let's go to the park, that would satisfy me.
Yeah.
I love cities. I love Dallas, but I just want more activities. So I've thought like I could go to Japan for a year. I could go to China for a year. If I hit those two countries and come back at like 20, I'm 24, come back at 26, I feel like I'd be satisfied. I'd still be only making 20,000 in both places, but
yeah, but you're living for free.
In a new place with totally like unparalleled experience to like living here. However, settling down here, being with somebody, it's not like I can just run off and go do that. I have to factor that in. A year of distance is kind of tough. So my current plan right now is I have 2 jobs starting this summer next week. One of them is like a SAT prep teacher.
Okay.
And the other one is working with people with special needs in
cool.
in like a job, like an entry-level job.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty happy with that. What else? So after that, I'm not sure, but I applied to grad school.
Where at?
For counseling. SMU.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
That's the ones. I only applied to one school. That's the school. If I get in, sweet. And if not, it's going to be a few months of catch up, get some more classes for the other schools. But so I'm kind of just like, is Dallas Fort Worth big enough for me with this person? Or do I need to like go off and, chase the world? Because either way, like if I make more money after grad school, I can still travel, just not as often or as quick. If I go here, I get these new experiences, but I'm still making the same. So I'm kind of like, between two things. So I'm just figuring it out.
Cool, man.
So
well, I'll be praying for you on that too, man. Those are obviously big deals. Hopefully something will be made very easy for a decision will be made easy for you.
I hope so. I think. Well, you mentioned like living for. You said your years in college, you were living for yourself a lot.
Yeah.
I think when you said that, I was like, that's me. I've been feeling so much like pressure on myself to like perform, to do things, like worrying about little things, and they end up being totally fine. I end up like oh, I didn't have to worry at all. I'm totally capable of taking care of any of these things. But because I'm on myself about these things, it's just so much harder. So when you said that, I was like, okay, I need to like get realigned and give more up to God instead of just on my back.
Yeah, it's not easy to do. Yeah.
So, but you said that your wedding is after her law
So
school
yeah,
year?
so she's starting law school in August. She's a year younger than us grade wise, but she also took a gap year. So she starts law school in August, and it will finish up next May for the first year. She has 3 years of law school. So we're gonna get married somewhere around the beginning, so mid to late May, early June. She has an internship that starts in the summer. Mm-hmm. So if she gets it with the firm that she's currently working for, they will be totally accommodating. Get married whenever you want.
That's awesome.
Get married whatever time of summer you like. If it's a different firm, we'll probably have to try to do it. So as soon as the first year finals are up, we'll probably have to get married that following weekend, honeymoon, get back, start internship. So
wow.
It'll be a little more tight. But I'm not worried about it. She will probably she'll be more stressed about it too, because we're going to start getting we're have to be very intentional about getting our wedding planning done this summer, because she'll be in school.
Right.
And I don't know if you know this, but the girls usually do most of the wedding planning. So there will probably have to be a little more extra burden on me towards the back half, which not a problem. But that also incentivizes me to kind of, let's get as much done together in the summer while you're not busy. So we'll try to work on that. But yeah, the goal is next May, early June.
Besides building Legos, what are you doing on your honeymoon together?
I know what Miss Chapman used to say, probably a lot of checkers.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't have a location set. So
are you guys like more outdoorsy, or do you like...
I'm outdoorsy.
You are. Okay.
She's beachy.
Okay.
So I'm mountain man. She's beach body. That's not going to bother me though. Okay. I am just excited to spend time with her. I don't care really where it is, as long as it's got a couple hiking trails we can go on. I've been told by many people that you're either going to be too tired to go on the hikes, or you're going to want to save that energy for other activities. So I'm not really concerned about big hikes or anything like that. I just want to spend time with her. Yeah. That's the biggest deal, is spend time with your new wife. You know, you do want to do some things because you got to build some experiences together. Like my sister, she got married in March. She went snorkeling with some sea turtles, just stuff like that. That you know, it's her experiences with her husband now.
Yeah.
That she got to build on her honeymoon memories and stuff like that. So we'll try to be intentional about finding things like that. We still got to decide destination wedding in Texas, stuff like that too, that will also affect honeymoon stuff. But I don't have a budget for the honeymoon yet. I wasn't.
No budget, just ball out.
Not balling out, but there will be a budget. We just haven't set one yet. We do have a budget given to us for the wedding, so that's going to come cool. First. Then we'll figure out the honeymoon probably midway through wedding planning. She's planning to go on wedding dress shopping in a couple of weeks with her mom, her sister, and my mom. So we hopefully can at least decide a wedding party size, like bridesmaids, groomsmen, and venue. Probably not venue, but hopefully destination or local by the time she tries on dresses.
Inside or outside?
It'd probably be inside because it's May, June, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless it's destination.
Yeah.
So if we go like hypothetically New Zealand, it's fall down there.
Oh, that's cool.
So like it'd be cool to have it outside. But we'll see how things pan out. I'm not worried about it. There's some cool places. We found some Airbnbs in like Italy, like 19-bedroom castles for like $6,000 for 2 days. You know, so cool. It's about the same price as a venue in Texas, but it's a small wedding because you can only have 38 people there, and it's in Italy. So like same price, better location.
Have you been to Europe before?
I've never been out of the country, bro.
Really?
Yeah, I had one time where I thought about going on a mission trip somewhere, and I just didn't want to put the time and effort into getting the money round up for it. I'm fine. I love Texas. I love my 2A. I love my Lone Star beer and my Shiner beer, you know.
Glad to hear somebody say it.
Yeah. You're a big Shiner guy?
No.
Oh.
It's just somebody to be like, yeah, I like Texas. I'm like, okay.
No.
There are people out there like
No, I definitely love Texas. I've been to Colorado quite a bit. I've been to Yosemite before. There's a lot of places in the United States you gotta travel to still. So I'm not too anxious to get out. But if I get out, I get out. You know.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been a privilege to have you, and
Bro, it's been a great time, man.
to catch up with you.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for
good
having me
stuff.
on, man.
Yeah.